There was a time in my life when everything felt meaningless. Each day blended into the next, and every morning I'd wake up wondering why I was even trying anymore. I wasn't lazy or careless. I had dreams once, big dreams. But slowly, life started breaking me down piece by piece until I found myself standing at the edge of giving up completely. A few years ago, I was working as a freelance designer. I had left my stable job because I believed in chasing passion over comfort. Everyone around me said I was brave. I felt proud at first. I had saved some money, had a plan, and believed that if I worked hard enough, things would fall into place. But dreams don't always unfold the way you imagine. Clients didn't come as easily as I thought. My savings began to shrink. Rent was overdue, bills piled up, and soon the excitement that once fueled me turned into constant anxiety. Each morning felt heavier than the last. At first, I told myself it was just a rough phase, that if I kept pushing, something would eventually work out. But as months went by, rejection emails became routine. People stopped replying to my messages. I started to feel invisible, like the world had moved on and left me behind. The more I tried, the worse things seemed to get. Some days, I'd stare at my computer screen for hours, not working, just staring. I couldn't find the energy to care anymore. The designs that once inspired me now felt pointless. I couldn't even recognize myself in the mirror. Then came the night I'll never forget. It was freezing outside. My apartment was dark because I hadn't paid the electricity bill in weeks. I sat on the floor with a cup of cold coffee, scrolling through old photos, pictures of when I was smiling, full of hope, surrounded by friends. I didn't know that person anymore. At that moment, I whispered to myself, I can't do this anymore. And I meant it. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live like that either. It was as if every dream I ever had been crushed under the weight of my failures. For a long time, I just sat there, numb, thinking maybe the world wouldn't even notice if I disappeared. The next morning, I went for a walk. Trying to clear my head, I didn't have a destination, I just walked. The city was busy as always, people rushing to work, laughing, talking on phones. And there I was, walking among them, but feeling like a ghost. After a while, I found myself at the Brooklyn Bridge. I leaned against the railing, staring at the water below. It looked calm, peaceful, everything I wasn't. I stood there, thinking about how easy it would be to just let go. But as I stared into the water, a voice behind me said, "You're not thinking about jumping, are you?" I turned around, startled. An older man stood there with a paper bag full of groceries. His eyes were kind but sharp, the kind that saw more than you wanted to reveal. I quickly replied, "No, I'm just thinking." He nodded slowly. "Good. Thinking is better than jumping. I used to come here for the same reason." His words caught me off guard. "The same reason?" I asked. He leaned beside me, setting his grocery bag down. "A few years ago, I lost everything. My wife, my home, my business. I stood right here ready to end it. But then someone stopped me. A stranger, just like I'm stopping you now. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, silent, listening." He continued, "That stranger told me something I'll never forget. If you can't start over for yourself, start over for someone who needs you but hasn't met you yet." His words hit me so deeply that I couldn't even respond. For a long time, we both just stood there, looking at the river. Then he said, "You don't seem like a bad person. You're just tired. But remember, being tired doesn't mean your story is over. Sometimes it just means you need a new chapter." Before leaving, he handed me a small, folded piece of paper. "Open it when you're ready," he said, and I walked away. I went home and stared at that note for hours. Finally, I opened it. Inside were 7 words. The moment you think it's over, it's not. Something in me shifted that day. I won't pretend that everything suddenly became perfect. It didn't. But that tiny piece of paper reminded me that maybe, just maybe, my life wasn't over yet. The next day, I turned my laptop back on. My inbox was still empty, but I decided to send out a few more messages. I offered my design work to local shops at half price, just to get started again. No one replied that week. But then, a small cafe owner messaged me back. She needed a logo. It wasn't a big job, but I worked on it like it was the most important project of my life. When she saw it, she smiled and said, "This is perfect." She told her friends about me, and slowly, I started getting more work. Weeks turned into months, and I began to rebuild. Not just my career, but myself. I learned that success isn't about never falling. It's about standing up one more time than you fall. I had been so focused on what I lost that I forgot to see what I still had. Skill, passion, and a chance to start again. A year later, I went back to that same bridge. The sky was clearer that day, and for the first time, I looked at the water not with despair, but with gratitude. While I stood there, I noticed a young man nearby, crying quietly, holding his phone, and staring at the river. Something about him felt familiar. His posture, his sadness. I saw myself in him. I walked over and said gently, "It's a tough day, isn't it?" He looked up, eyes red. "Yeah, I just lost my job. I don't know what to do anymore." I smiled and handed him a folded note I'd kept in my wallet for years. "Someone once gave me this. It saved my life. Maybe it'll help you too." He opened it and read, "The moment you think it's over, it's not." He looked at me in surprise, and I just nodded. "Trust me," I said. "This is not the end." As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. I realized that the pain I once thought would destroy me had actually shaped me into someone stronger, someone who could now help others find hope too. That day, I understood something powerful. Life doesn't break you to end you. It breaks you to rebuild you. Sometimes, when everything falls apart, it's because something better is trying to take shape. We all face moments when giving up feels easier than holding on, but those are the moments that define us. I thought my life was over that night in the dark apartment, but it was only the beginning of who I was meant to become. If you're going through something right now, if you feel lost, hopeless, or invisible, please remember this: pain is temporary, and change is possible. You might not see the light yet, but it's still there, waiting for you to look up. I almost gave up on life once. I almost became a story that ended too soon. But I didn't. And because I didn't, I got to live the chapters that came after, the ones filled with purpose, peace, and meaning. So if you're standing on your own bridge today, don't jump. Don't let this be your ending. You still have so much to give, so many people to meet, and so many reasons to keep going, even if you haven't discovered them yet. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one more step. Because sometimes the day you almost give up becomes the day you start again, stronger than ever. If my story touched your heart, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Comment below and tell me what this story means to you. And don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us, no matter how dark life gets, there's always light waiting to guide us home.